It's my great pleasure to introduce our plenary speaker, Mr. Mahesh Ramanujam. Mahesh Ramanujam is proving that, is proving that building a more sustainable world is no longer a dream, but a global evolution. He's president and CEO of the U.S. Green Building Council and president and CEO of Green Business Certification Incorporated. As president and CEO of the Green Business Council and Green Business Certification Incorporated, he heads a community of 13 million people that's growing every day. A graduate from India's Annamalai University with a degree in computer engineering, Ramanujam couples a strong background in technology and innovation with his goal of building a healthier community and democratizing sustainable living. Ramanujam serves on numerous boards and advisory committees, including Bank of America's National Community Advisory Council and the board of directors of GRESB, a private organization wholly owned by GBCI and that is leading sustainability standards for global real estate portfolios and infrastructure assets. Before becoming president and CEO of USGBC, Ramanujam served as both the organization's COO and CIO, and prior to joining GBCI in 2009, he was COO of Emergis Corporation, and for more than a decade, he successfully led various business transformation programs at IBM and Lenovo. Transformative thought programs, partnerships, and initiatives continue to be at the heart of Ramanujam's work today. He leads hundreds of employees and thousands of volunteers who work tirelessly as the backbone of the green building movement. He believes that sustainable living is not just about the physical building and rebuilding of our communities, but ultimately about our willingness to reimagine the way we treat each other. He envisions a world where construction is as much about compassion as it is about the convenience and efficiency of the structures themselves. And most importantly, behind every strategy, he emphasizes our universal responsibility to prioritize health and wellness, to make a commitment to the longevity of our planet, and to create a better quality of life for ourselves and for future generations. It's our great pleasure to welcome you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I can see that the afternoon slump is kicking in. I hope this is not that intense as the morning session had been, so relax, and as they say in the plane, loosen your seat belts, take a nap, it's okay. Thank you very much for Annette and Charlie for inviting us here. It's wonderful. And I am excited to be here today with all of you to discuss a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, buildings and how they impact our health and well-being. As the president and CEO of the U.S. Green Building Council, the organization that is behind the LEED Green Building Program, this is something that I think about each and every day. For 25 years, USGBC has come together to make our planet stronger, greener, and sustainable. Roughly 20 years or so ago, we created the LEED rating system to measure and define what green building meant and to provide a roadmap for developing sustainable buildings. With LEED, we established a baseline, a universally agreed upon holistic system for reducing environmental impact, providing a quality indoor environment, and always with the goal of reducing carbon emissions, addressing climate change and risk, and improving occupant health and wellness. Now, people know that if they are in a LEED certified building, they are using less energy and water, avoiding waste, saving on maintenance costs, improving indoor air quality, offering comfort to their occupants, and creating less environmental burden to their community. They also know they are in a building that enhances health and wellness. If you have not noticed it, as I was walking in, I was very proud to walk into this building. This is a LEED Platinum certified building. So you are assured to actually breathe a cleaner air. So I like to say that every story about a green building is a story about people. And that is why our vision at USGBC and our motivation behind the LEAD program is that buildings and communities and cities will regenerate and sustain the health and vitality of all life within a generation. We believe that above all else, green building is at its heart is about people. It's about improving our quality of life and making our society not just sustainable, but also equitable. After the LEED rating system was introduced, the program was embraced by a collective group of leaders that spanned industries: architects, designers, engineers, developers, business leaders, policymakers, and it goes on. Let's fast forward 25 years. Today, green building has grown into a $1 trillion industry, and LEED has now become the most widely used green building program in the world. I'm so proud of it. It's a full-scale global movement. The numbers speak for themselves. LEED is everywhere, with projects in 176 countries and territories and growing. There are nearly 100,000 registered and commercial projects participating in LEED, totaling more than 21.6 billion square feet of space and more than 1.66 million registered and certified residential units. And every day, more than 2.6 million square feet of space certifies to LEED, and there are more than 204,500 LEED professionals on the ground working to advance green buildings around the world. Now, I'll give you a little side story here. In 2009, when I joined US Green Building Council, we were doing 70% of certifications in the United States and 30% in the international market. Then this global financial crisis happened. The real estate market kind of went down in the western part of the world, but while Asia was building up. So at that time, we were 70-30. In 2014, we balanced it to 50-50. So 50% of the projects came from United States and 50% of the projects came from the rest of the world. And we were certifying in 2009 one international project every week. In 2016, 2014, we were certifying one international project every 8 hours. Now we certify one international project every 4 hours. That's the impact we are having on the marketplace. This kind of growth and the success of the green building community as a whole is obviously phenomenal. And it gives the issues we are facing a very important goalpost. This growth and LEED are essential to be adopted in every building that we inherit. At USGBC, we also have partnered with a variety of change makers, businesses, nonprofit and government leaders who understand the value of LEED and green building and whose exceptional vision is transforming the market. Our mantra is partnership is the new leadership. And we know that thanks to the partnership and support of a wide community, including many here in this room, we have been able to make history together. The global green building community has done a great job of creating a framework for green buildings. We have set in place the structure to help us understand where we need to get to. But the reality is this: there is still much more work to be done because the stakes have never been higher. While we have set in place the framework to move forward towards building a sustainable future, this is just the beginning, and we must accelerate on all fronts if we are going to achieve our vision. And bringing attention to health and wellness benefits that green buildings generate is especially important given the state of our world today. All over the world, our society is confronting massive health challenges that are assaulting our complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Asthma and respiratory illnesses are on the rise because of poor air quality, extreme temperatures, excess humidity, and insufficient ventilation. Now, here I want to draw your attention to one data point. Delhi, the national capital from the country that I come from, India, at one point in time had a pollution rate that was equivalent to smoking 50 cigarettes in a day. Just observe that for a second. A recent study found that more than 95% of the world's population is breathing dangerously polluted air. And the problem is only getting worse as the population rapidly urbanizes. Added to this fact is that we spend 90% of our time inside buildings, and poor air quality in our buildings has an effect on health, well-being, and productivity. Given that much of time is spent inside buildings, it is imperative that they support human health and well-being. Recent research proves that improved health and productivity benefits are playing a larger role than ever in driving companies to invest in green building. Increased employee health and worker productivity, for example, were cited as the two most important social reasons to build green in every international market to participate in a recent McGraw-Hill survey. This is exactly why in 2012, when we introduced the version 4 of the LEED rating system, our fourth generation of LEED, we shifted LEED's approach to materials within our buildings to ensure the rating system places an even greater importance on sustainable and healthy materials. Setting goals for using sustainable and healthy materials and resources is a very important step in the green building process, and the LEED rating system has always viewed materials as a key consideration in our certification process. In fact, LEED as an entire category or strategies that is dedicated to indoor environmental quality for new buildings, interiors, homes, and even existing buildings. These strategies reward decisions made by project teams around indoor air quality and about thermal, visual, and acoustic comfort. The initial versions of the LEED rating system focused on attributes of materials. But with LEED version 4, the latest, we really wanted to place a greater importance on better, healthy materials, and we took a comprehensive step to look beyond single attributes and to shift the conversation around materials to focus on the outcomes the materials in our buildings can have on the environment, human health, and economics. We introduced new strategies around environmental product declarations, health product declarations, and life cycle assessments. These new strategies were designed to encourage project teams to take early decisions to reduce environmental impacts and integrate healthy, sustainable materials in their buildings, and to create a more standardized way to report the environmental and the health impacts that building materials can have, a move that was desperately needed. Our theory is this: what gets measured gets done. What gets done gets improved. What gets improved gets replicated and transforms the market. And thanks to this vision and LEED version 4, there are now thousands of environmental product declarations around the world helping employers, building owners, designers, developers, and investors all over the globe unlock enormous benefits and potential in their buildings for their occupants. Now, studies from leading universities in the US, including Harvard School of Public Health, the SUNY Upstate Medical University, and Syracuse University have found that improved indoor environmental quality can double occupants' cognitive function test scores, and that occupants in buildings had increased decision-making performance scores and increased productivity rates as well. The COG effect studies from Harvard suggest that there may be even a greater benefit to pursuing green building certification than originally thought. The extra steps taken to obtain certification do more than reduce energy consumption or support sustainability goals. They have a measurable positive impact on the thinking and health of those who occupy a building. Better buildings that result in better thinking and better health can help reduce our performance, can help improve our performance and well-being, serve as recruiting tools for companies, and provide a differentiator, perhaps even a competitive advantage for the building owners or the companies. Yet, these benefits are relatively unknown to the general public. One of the biggest issues my industry is grappling with is that the general public doesn't understand or make the connection that green buildings, or for that matter, buildings at all, can contribute to their health and wellness. In order to realize a sustainable future for all, and really make the case for the importance of health and wellness in buildings a mainstream concept, we need to solve this paradigm. Late last year, USGBC began a new campaign called Living Standard to expand the way we talk about sustainability by focusing on what matters most within our buildings: human beings. And as part of this campaign, we began conducting in-depth national qualitative and quantitative research to listen to people share their views on the environment, sustainability, and green building. And we reached out to people outside our normal audiences, seeking feedback in focus groups across regions in the US and a diverse wide range of communities to better understand the disconnects in our messaging. Our first report, which was released in April, included commercial and residential developers, millennials, community opinion farmers, and young parents in 5 diverse urban markets across the US. Our research found that what people want most are ways of having a better day-to-day experience in their lives. They told us they want cleaner air and less waste. They want to reduce energy use. They want to conserve water. And interestingly, they told us they don't want just these things, but quite frankly, they expect them. It's very interesting. I'll give a little side story. I sat in one of these anonymous meetings, and one of the interviewee was asked the question, what is quality of life for you? And he said, coming to Washington, D.C. on the weekend to have a beer is quality of life. Think about that for a second. And how is our message reaching that particular person? And what can we do better? Fortunately, the things that people expect are all the expectations that green buildings can meet, goals they can achieve. But unfortunately, we still have some work to do to show how buildings are behind these benefits. In our research, we also did word association with terms people might relate to when thinking about a healthier world. And the results were telling. At the bottom of the list were green, for this audience I'll say, healthy buildings. Only 11% associate that phrase with strongly relating to the environment. 11%. And this is just United States. So if US is thinking 11%, God only saved the rest of the world. Think about that. What we learned was that many of the individuals we talked to can quite explain or describe what role a building plays in their overall health and happiness. They are not even fully convinced that buildings do, in fact, play a larger role in their own well-being. The long-term problems that come from the absence of these benefits are not part of their day-to-day conversations. While people might believe in the idea of LEED or green building and generally can support the concepts of climate change and other things, they don't quite grasp how green building is contributing to their health and quality of life. They don't make the leap we need them to. Better buildings equal better lives. The reason that I'm mentioning all of this here today is because I believe that the new research coming from the indoor chemistry field can play a critical role in advancing this conversation. You have heard or will hear today a lot of talk about important insights from this industry research and how chemicals inside our homes and offices can react with one another, either directly or through the work of catalysts or microorganisms to create new chemicals. You will also hear new and important findings about how these new chemicals can have an impact on the health outcomes of building occupants. This research is shining light on the critical connection between buildings and the health and stands to play a big role in green building conversation in the coming years. In particular, it will influence the transformation of the design, construction, operation, and also even the manufacturing markets to be able to influence and produce healthy and sustainable materials. To me, it's very important because research like this is the need of the hour because it helps us to engage our larger community. I've seen this consistently happen. In the past 2 decades, we have spent a lot of time talking about energy efficiency, carbon emissions, telling the world is going to end, you need to avoid waste, etc., etc., etc. But for the past 10 years, consistently after speaking all these things with my own voice, I have not seen traction. But the moment you talk about health and wellness and quantify the outcomes, people get energized, excited, and they want to take action. This is crucial. That's why this topic is so important to me personally, because it helps us to move the market in the right direction. So research like this is the need of the hour, once again, and it helps us to engage the larger community. Everyone here in this room can take action to support this research. Everybody must act. If you are a funder, please allocate more funds for research like this. If you are an advocate, please present this research to your extended community. And if you are a product manufacturer, please apply this research to your products and most importantly, to your innovation constructs. So when it comes to health, the materials, the health and safety of our community members, we have to take a responsibility and drive action in the marketplace. And one thing this scientific community can really benefit from is taking the sentiments from our Living Standard campaign and implementing that philosophy in your future research efforts. In particular, the Living Standard campaign has taught us that we need to connect the dots between data and people. It has taught us that messaging and research is more powerful when it is connected to humanity. And that in order for any research to really resonate and motivate change, we need to define data as it connects to the human experience. There is a great Brené Brown quote that really speaks to this. In talking about her work as a research professor, Brown once said, "I collect stories, that's what I do. Maybe stories are just data with a soul." Data with a soul. That has a ring to it, doesn't it? The moment I heard that quote, I realized how much all of us could learn from that. And I believe it holds greater significance for the scientific community. What I'm asking those of you in the indoor chemistry field to do is this. Each time you are presenting quantitative data, bring it to life by putting it into context. Look for the human stories behind your numbers and share them. And I truly believe if we can leverage the combined power of people and data, we can build a better narrative and we can actually open up ourselves to a whole new era of possibilities. And we can put some soul in sustainability. In addition to this, we have also learned from our experience with developing and implementing LEAD version 4 that if we want to truly scale our ideas, we need to do a better job on focusing on implementation. We need to make things simpler and usable and integrate our ecosystem of practitioners, manufacturers, architects, engineers, researchers. Everybody must work together and think about implementation. And we have to show clear evidence and research to quantify the outcomes. And we need to take the time to test our innovative ideas to ensure they make sense on the manufacturing or the product development floor. Otherwise, these ideas don't scale. That's our experience. Of course, all of this needs to happen without us lowering the bar on what we expect to create for the market or for the deliver to the market. So this is a critical reason why we have been able to experience tremendous success in the recent past with the release of our latest version of LEAD, version 4.1, which is basically built on the success and lessons learned from LEAD version 4. So I want to underscore one more time the importance of research like this that you are discussing today. As without research, we will have to launch a lot of ideas, waste a lot of time and our resources, and we are at the risk of making the market cynical. So please continue to tell us a story through the data, but you also put it in context and help us to really push the market in the right direction by clearly articulating the value of the actions and the results that comes with it. So thank you for your leadership and inspiration and for being invaluable partners in the push for better materials and better buildings. And I always say, better buildings equal better lives. And today I would like to close by adding, better materials equal better lives. And better chemistry can help save lives. Thank you very much. Are we good? I thought you...
Time for questions?
Sure, absolutely. I wasn't sure. If there are any comments, thoughts, questions, happy to answer. Hopefully that kept you a little bit awake. It should be a really good presentation or it should be really not a good presentation.
Mahesh, it's Gina Saganek with HBN. I just really wanted to thank you for the amazing work you and your crew has done for all of these years. As a developer in my prior life for 20 years, I've done LEED Platinum, LEED Gold, and what I really loved about it is the way you can apply it. And as I told the crowd earlier this morning, mine was specifically in the affordable housing world, and I know you guys have taken leadership in making sure that equity is an important part of this conversation, as you had been talking about. So mine was less of a question, but I just wanted to take a moment to say this is a really inspirational presentation from a really inspirational group, and wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Annette Olson from AAAS. I have talked with a lot of y'all on email. My question is about development of future LEED versions and the pace that is needed to deal with climate change. And what are your thoughts about that? So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think the speed, I think in 2017 in Greenville, Boston, our annual conference, I gave a speech called All In. And you all have seen the recent climate report, and last October it was released. And when you look at the number, it is bittersweet, right? On one side it says, we didn't blow up the planet yet. But at the same time, it tells that if you don't do something about it, by 2045, you're going to be completely out of business. And that's exactly what the report says. Science says it. Whether you believe in climate change or not, doesn't matter. Whether you believe in climate risk or not, doesn't matter. But what matters is, in 2016, we had 16 natural disasters that happened in the United States alone. 16 natural disasters, taking $305 billion from FEMA's bank account. And that went into actually spending only to reacting to that crisis. You had to just react to the crisis, just bring people in and out of that crisis. That's all you spent. We didn't account for business productivity loss. We didn't account for insurance loss. We didn't account for increase in insurance premiums. We didn't account for the poor people who didn't go to work and never got their salary back. Luckily, we can all apply for a vacation. They can't. They have to earn their daily paycheck. So when you look at that, whether we believe in climate change or climate risk, whatever your label is, at the end of the day, there is something going on in the market that is related to climate, which we all need to respond to act. Which means that from our point of view, LEED's role is to accelerate on all fronts. And what we have seen is that we have tried to motivate the market quite a bit in the past, as I said earlier, on all the other constructs. First of all, the doomsday conversation doesn't work. So if you go back and tell people that the world is going to end, people are going to say seriously, and they move on. So that's not going to work. But what people want repeatedly is practical solutions, things that are implemented on the ground, driven by data and science, that actually helps them to quantify outcomes. It need not be always economic outcomes, but it has to be explained in the context of outcomes. So that's what we are trying to plan. And this is how I remember my work every single day. Only 3 markers I remember. 2030, 2040, 2050. 2030 is a child born today will be in elementary school in 2030. That child will be a leading scientist in 2040. And that child probably will be solving the world's largest problems like cancer and other bigger issues that we deal with on a daily basis, probably in 2050, and has already solved. But that child cannot be given the bill for all our inaction, for our irresponsibility. And that's what I'm thinking about. And I believe that through health, through articulating the personal outcomes and driving people to take personal accountability, we can drive faster transformation. So speed is paramount, so it's not enough to be just all in. It's time to be all out, and it is time for decisive leadership, and research, data, and good implementation can help us lead us into that space. That's the outlook, and that's what we're pushing for, and we'll continue to push, of course, along with the partnerships, because partnership is the new leadership. No single organization can get there, but collectively, I'm confident we can get there.
Hi, my name is Vicki Gracian. I'm a chemist from the University of California, San Diego. And my question to you, and I just wanted to say you gave an excellent talk, a very inspiring talk. And I'm seeing right here on your slide, better materials, better lives. Can you tell me what your definition of better materials is and how you think about better materials?
I saw that coming. I'll be very honest about it. I think that definition, we don't have an agreement on that definition. That's a fact. So this is where more work has to be done by us. So let me give a story. In version 4, when version 4 was launched in 2012, our version of our language called LEAD. And what we did is we introduced these concepts like environmental product declaration, health product declarations. We introduced this concept called life cycle assessments, all these wonderful things we introduced. But then we didn't actually contextualize about why we are doing all these things, where will the value be generated, what are the repercussions of implementing in the manufacturing floor, and what are the consequences of that kind of a narrative which being misinformed. If the campaign went in a misinformed direction, what would that mean? So what we did is we put a lot of ideas out there, which I think raising the bar on the market, but we really didn't do a good job of thinking through the implementation, etc. So I always say to our people who took exception with us, a group of community members were very offended by the introduction of LEAD version 4. They were very unhappy. And they felt that we were just kind of running fast and loose. And we didn't define that better, what that better means. So eventually we had to sit with them and I had to have a conversation to really define what better is. So at this point in time, I think we have settled on, it's not yet fully defined, but I'm going to say this is the current version of truth, which is that buildings need to be sustainable, which means that they should have create the minimum environmental impact. I'm just giving a layman explanation here. Minimum environmental impact. The same thing, the same materials cannot be affecting the human health, be it the cognitive capability or the physical capability, or for that matter, the mental capability, or even the emotional capability of the human. That is the second definition. The third is that I recently visited a waste facility in Orange County Center, and I looked at all the plastic that is being collected in the recycling center at the back, and I looked at them, and I said, these are all not waste. These are all design failures. If a product manufacturer would come and see that his innovation, best innovation, be a plastic water bottle or a plastic cup or a plastic straw, he didn't design it better. If you take a designer's approach to it, and if you thought about it, you would probably approach that a little differently. And that drives innovation. That drives conversations. So these are the conversations we are trying to have in terms of better. So I think a better is also defined as an imperfect design, incomplete design, or design that didn't fully consider the full circular economy implication, which is cradle to cradle, but just simply considering that starting point to where the end of life, the end of use has not been factored into the design process. So to me, better materials, at least today, is better materials or sustainable materials that create minimum impact on the planet Earth, Mother Earth, and are good for the people that would touch them, feel them. And then last but not the least, they absolutely need to be perfectly designed, because there are fishing nets that are being recovered from oceans that are now have become now carpets in many, many buildings. So reuse is possible, recycle is possible, but we can go beyond that. And that's the whole idea. At least that's where we are. I think there is room for one last question, being sensitive about time. Thank you all so much. I appreciate the time.